My neighbor lets his tree grow past the border of his property into mine. I don't know the species of the tree. Its branches are long, sturdy vines riddled with light purple flowers. These vines extend their spindly bodies in front of my gate. Over the past 2 years, they've either been a nuisance or they frame my first look outside like a jungle portal to a fairy tale. But the vines have big fat thorns, thick and sharp enough to draw blood. And they have on multiple occasions. They can't say I haven't given my all to this foreign land. Unlike the Banderanchis, I've never taken blood here, only provided it. But the main questions I have, dear listener, are the following. Does my neighbor's disregard for the invasiveness of this tree attack my manhood? And am I low T for letting it happen? I don't know if a he even lives there. I've only ever seen a young woman and some kids periodically. Once, a boy was climbing up the stairs to their entrance, and he looked over the brick wall at me while I was reading in a hammock. The boy was eating one of those overly sweet concoctions that look like a long tongue and are doused in sugar and natural watermelon flavors. He stopped and stared at me for 10 seconds. Then, without taking his eyes off me, dropped his false tongue onto my property. The boy walked away. That boy, let's call him Marcelo, tests me as his father does. Perhaps Marcelo's father is out of the picture, hence the boy's reprehensible behavior. A more merciful reading of the situation might be that Marcelo was inviting me to play, or offering a taste of his delicious candy, or even searching for a fatherly presence in his life. Being a child, he didn't know how to signal this desire, so he dropped the false tongue like a 19th century English woman dropping her handkerchief in front of her crush. Sorry, kid, I have bigger changelings to fry. To be honest, I'm not even sure my neighbors are entirely real. I've laid eyes on them at most a dozen times in 2.5 years. When we moved in, their house was torn apart and being renovated. After a few months, it was finished, and one day I saw decorations, including a beautiful cactus on the balcony, and that was that. I had neighbors. Early on, I imagined myself ingrained in the community. We were newcomers to the neighborhood and the country. I thought about baking cookies and sharing them, telling them it was a recipe from Canada. The men would stop by once or twice a month, and I'd pour them healthy helpings of rakia, distilled in hardy villages in Serbia. I would become a mythical figure when I left, a gringo you brag to your provincial friends about. None of this fantasy ever materialized, at least not with the neighbors. At most, the neighbors on the other side would pick up a delivery for us and scream Natalia when they sensed my wife's presence. Why didn't this ever come true? Laziness, language barriers, I'm not a good enough Christian. Maybe it was the thorny vines trying to slit my throat in a Viet Cong-style ambush. Back to the questions and the thesis, dear listener. Is my neighbor attacking my manhood? And am I low T? I want the reader to know, especially those of the woman variety, the life of a well-adjusted man is full of little tests like this. Sly comments, smirks, the threatening scan of eyes, little bicep flexes to indicate size advantages, shaking hands too hard, letting bloodthirsty vines grow in doorways, leaving your lawn to grow out of proportion with the rest of the street so hypothetical property values take a hit, and washing my dishes. A good scene depicting this is from True Detective, when Rust mows Marty's lawn when he's not home. Marty takes offense to this and tells Rust it's his lawn and he is the only one who gets to mow it. It's unreasonable on the surface, and then later, Rust really takes it to the lawn. This is a euphemism for having sex with Marty's wife. Do you see, dear listener, what we have to deal with? Being a well-adjusted man I ignore most of these callous attempts to draw me into confrontation. But methinks it wouldn't be such a bad thing to have dueling between men legalized and inscribed in all democratic constitutions. Why, you ask, should we resort to this barbarity of ages past? For one, it would get people, especially kids, off their phones and outside. Also, it's aesthetic. Clear boundaries and hierarchies are set. It's a manly way to deal with problems. Is there anything more effeminate than fighting in a Reddit thread or talking through your life with a specialist trained in CBT, paid to listen to you? As a man, why is your presence not commanding attention? Dueling, being an active, aesthetic, and manly undertaking, will solve the problem of low testosterone among men. Apparently, we secrete less than half the T our great-grandfathers secreted. It's a travesty, they say, and I agree. Being a low T, well-adjusted man, I let too many transgressions go unimpeded, resulting in my absolute enclosure as an animal. I'm like a sad, mopey, pacing jaguar in the zoo. I should have territory and plenty of fresh game. Instead, little girls press their toothless faces to the glass and say I need to be freed from captivity in my natural habitat. What would become of me if I was free? Would I form a manor bund and set fire to sedentary agrarian populations? No. The first wild jaguar who saw me wouldn't even kill me. He would pity me. I would be made the world's first jaguar slave, eking out an existence under the tyrannical foot of a real jaguar. In this way, we become shadows of men, playing roles rather than filling them with blood and ancient instinct. My great-grandfather would never let the invasive vine slide, and he probably had a tenth of the T a legendary figure like Ajax would have had. Imagine Ajax dealing with a brain-dead airport clerk. He would club him like a seal. What would he do to my criminal neighbor? Rip the tree from the ground and feed it to him whole, thorns and all. I digress, though. We cannot behave this way. We are well adjusted. But methinks public duels would improve the low T situation and make our pheromones irresistible to women. They tell me the ladies love a victorious warrior. This would fix the birth rates Elon Musk tells me are our problem. The Japanese will start having 6 to 8 kids a pop. Their zombified economy will revive, samurai will roam, and Mishima's great vision will be realized. Most importantly, Japan will stay Japanese. As for me, I took a rusty saw I had lying around and cut the murderer's branches. I threw them at the foot of my neighbor's gate. That'll show him.